DNVR Draft Pod. It's happening. This is how it was meant to be, boys. With John Elway in the background, producer Alyssa on the ones and twos, my guy Schwanman to my left, J Mike to my right. We are so ready for week one of college football. And you've heard us in the Broncos, Rams, and Buffs feeds. We are coming to you live every Thursday, doing the thing to talk it all out, preview the big games in college football, preview the big prospects, talk about the Broncos' biggest needs, Rams and Buffs' best prospects. We've got you all covered on everything and anything football, from preps to pros. We're doing it. Jake, we missed you last week, man.
I missed doing the show, not going to lie.
You?
Yeah.
We did a little double header. We got all our conference picks and all our All-American teams. It was quite exciting.
That sounds amazing. How many CU representatives do we have on these All-American teams?
Travis was on there.
Travis made my team, yep. And Jordan Dominic got an honorable mention.
Uh-huh.
And that's where we stopped. Alton McCaskill was brought up in the running backs.
All right.
I think it might be too soon post-injury to really talk about first-team All-American.
I Swear TV says Hank's going to be starting. That's what Coach Flea said at the show. So
we did not talk Hank.
Look out. He's not. I don't think he's eligible, honestly.
That's why we've got our Buffs Insider. We will be talking about that soon enough. The Pack did kind of dominate the offensive side. And that's what was fun about this, Jake, was as we're talking about our All-American teams, you know, for the Broncos, you'd think we'd be talking about more needs on the offensive side. We kind of found ourselves talking a little more defensive line and corners and safeties and stuff like that, you know?
I feel that.
So as you're getting into Broncos season, week one prep, who are you zeroing in on?
Position-wise?
Dude, tell
Any
our
way
people
you want to take it, yeah.
as they watch college football Saturday end to end and they don't have a dog in any fight, who should they be following?
Not going to lie. I got a little concerned when the 53 came out and there was 3 healthy wide receivers and 4 wide receivers total.
It's not awesome.
Even after drafting my guy Mims with their first pick, their first draft pick, not first round pick last year, they still need help on that side of the ball, I believe. I mean, when you talk about quarterback too, I think that's pretty valid at this point.
Yeah.
But again, cornerback too, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Mathis does this year, but may need another guy just for depth purposes even too. And then we'll find out how much longer Justin Simmons is able to play at this level. I mean, the edge group looks great, but we don't really have a guy.
That true star.
Yes, exactly.
If Randy Gregory's injured or what have you. And what's interesting, Justin, is of those positions, edge is super deep, it feels like, going into this class. Some of those other spots,
Receiver, I think we'll feel better about at the end of the season than we do coming in. It's just how it works. There'll be some guys that pop, but going in, you're not quite as stoked. Torrey Horton, CSU Ram, a guy I would watch this weekend. Guy has the potential to be Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year in that All-American conversation. But yeah, edge, it's loaded. I mean, this weekend we got Harold Perkins Jr. going up against Florida State. You got Jared Verse on the other side. Like, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State, Jared Verse, he's outstanding. Harold Perkins was one of the few non-draft eligible guys to make my All-American team. Ohio State, as always, loaded at edge. Sawyer on one side, who's got some Bosa to his game. JT Tuamalu, who dominated Notre Dame, was
Penn State.
Penn State was his game. Watch out for the Nittany Lions this year. That's going to be a fun program. So, no, edge is deep. Corner, I got to figure that out a little bit. That's why Travis Hunter, in part, is a first-team All-American for me. You'll get to see another potential candidate in Josh Newton, when you're in Fort Worth this weekend, he's a highly touted corner for TCU. Outside of that, I don't know how you feel about Cooper DeJean. And then, it's Kool-Aid McHistory, Kalen King, these kind of guys to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, TCU's just been like a secondary factory. They had Trevon Merrick go in the first round. They had Hodges Tomlinson get drafted last year,
Right.
and then Gladney a few years ago, and now Josh Newton's going to be the next guy. He is, I think, was their leading pass breakup guy last year too. So he was. We talked a lot about Hodges Tomlinson on this show last year because he was like the guy, but Newton was better.
He's kind of got some size too, right? Yeah, he's one I'm keeping an eye on. Also, like, is there something to Big 12 corners? Like, they're just tested so much. They've gone
That's
through
a
the
good point.
trials
I
by
mean,
fire.
like, they're going to, if you look at a Big 12 corner these last couple of years, they're going to have a couple plays where they get torched pretty bad. But when you're in coverage 50 snaps a game, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. What about these safeties? Kareem Jackson, it's been forever that he's just coming back as the starter, and it's an interesting safety class. We were coming out with some good names, but I don't know that we love anyone.
I mean, Jack Howell, obviously at CSU, is a guy that'll come up a lot. Jaden Hicks for Washington State's a stud. I'll get to see him on Saturday. I'm interested. I think it's a lot of prove it year. I mean, you got the kid at Georgia, and you know,
right. Malachi Starks is incredible.
He's really nice.
He's not draft eligible. I believe
He's not.
He's a true sophomore. Yeah.
Wow.
Georgia has so many true sophomores.
They're so
It's
young, but they're
insane.
so deep.
They are so young. Yes.
I mean, I'll throw out Kalen Bullock at USC. He
had
was
a
a
great
transfer.
game, bro.
Yeah, he balled out. And then Tyler Nubbin at Minnesota is a guy we highlighted last year for that game.
Great. Watch the Gophers take on Nebraska tonight. That's going to be
Exactly.
a fun game. Definitely zero in on him.
One more Pac-12 guy, Cole Bishop at Utah too. He's been there for a while.
Another guy we get to watch tonight. That's going to be fun. Cameron Kitchens is someone from Kitchens.
That's
Thank
the
you,
Miami
sir.
safety.
Thank you,
I think he
sir.
had 5
That's
picks
the
last
Miami
year.
safety. On the offensive side, everyone's got some concerns about tackle.
To say the least.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a year in, year out thing that we do, brother.
We definitely have not done a draft pod, and offensive tackle not be one of the primary reasons of focus for us. That's for sure.
I don't even remember. I mean, you got to go back to Clady. Is that the last time we really felt good?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Luis Vasquez on the right side had a good
He had
year.
a nice, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. That's when you really felt like,
I mean,
okay.
it's been a decade since Clady was in his prime.
Well, even that 2015 Super Bowl team, right tackle was a liability on that team. That Raiders game, who was it? Schofield allowed 5 sacks from Khalil Mack. Like,
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up.
sorry.
No, it's true. And I mean, Garrett Bowles isn't getting any younger. You hope that some of these big money signings they've made can show up, or else it's going to be a disaster. And it doesn't feel like going into the season, it's maybe the deepest offensive tackle class. But at the tippy top, you have some guys I really like. Olufashanu of Penn State is the big name.
I mean, he'll go top 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all in agreement coming into last year's draft. Had he declared, he's the top offensive tackle in that class.
Yeah, for sure.
Easy.
And those guys didn't drop. I mean, the top 3 tackles, they're all gone by the 14th pick, right? When Broderick Jones is taken by the Steelers. So Olufashanu, Joe Alt out of Notre Dame.
Yes.
Those are the big names. Joe Alt, one of those longer, like basketball-sized offensive tackles, which, like McGlinchey, you always worry about.
I was
Is
gonna
it too
say,
easy to
yeah.
get into your pads? And it's hard for you to anchor, right? And have that center of balance that's low to the ground. People are high on J.C. Latham out of Alabama. Amarius Mims has only had 2 starts at Georgia, but has all the tools to be a superstar.
He'll be fine.
Patrick Paul, a name out of Houston, big boy that's been coming up. Houston, we were surprised to see their dogs.
Home UTSA.
dogs.
Jordan Morgan out of Arizona too.
There
Left
you go.
tackle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you mentioned the quarterbacks. Wide receiver, amazingly, might be a big position of need.
I think you're gonna have to do something, because this trio that you invested and hoped to see together never came to fruition.
What a
I mean, we're
disaster.
not going to see Sutton, Patrick, and Hamill on the field at the same time. Give up, move on.
What a disaster.
We're 3 years in, hasn't worked out.
Yeah. No, it really is. And everyone knows about Marvin Harrison Jr., or at least should.
Of course.
We'll be sure to key you in this whole season. Other guys you've got on your list at wide receiver, though, because, again, maybe not a class that explodes off the page when you look at it, but there's already some really intriguing names.
I'll throw out Rome Odunze at Washington. I think he's going to have a massive year. He was one of the best receivers in the pack last year. And then
He's so big.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome. And then Dorian Singer, he comes in instantly at USC last week and has a great game, scores at least one touchdown, might have been multiple.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty deep class now. I'm looking at wide receiver here. I like a lot of these names.
I mean, Xavier Worthy at Texas is a lot of fun.
Huge.
Some versatility. He's
Got
a guy
a
I think
lot
could
of
make an
hype.
impact as a return man as well. You put him in the slot, you can move him around.
Yep.
Malik Neighbors at LSU, I think, is a name that I've seen quite a bit in for a big year.
Yes.
You think with Jaden Daniels, second year with Brian Kelly, that offense should hit the ground running. I'm really intrigued by that LSU squad. We've dug into it a little bit on the last pod, but out of the Alabama, Georgias of the world, LSU, sneaky for some SEC title love.
They are
man.
sneaky, man. Talent on defense, talent on offense. Do you believe in JT Daniels? Go Ducks.
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels. Yeah.
JT's the
JT's
USC
at-
guy with the stupidest mustache.
He's
of
at
all time.
Rice, starting his third career game at Texas now, at his third different school.
Him and Slovis, who's at BYU now,
Ban him
are
from
How are we
college
still
football.
talking about these guys?
Ban them, please. I can't.
it's
anymore.
crazy.
I just can't.
I kind of respect it. Just staying in college forever, just deferring
amazing.
adulthood.
The Bo Nix strategy.
Sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
I'll throw out Johnny Wilson as well at Florida State. Big guy, can run as well. He's going to be a just nightmare matchup for a lot of defensive backs in college football and just shine, I think, this season.
From Florida State, I was also seeing, is it Keanu Coleman, highly rated?
Keon
He's
Coleman.
massive.
Yeah, he's former Michigan State wide receiver.
Okay, that's why
Yeah.
he sounded familiar. Okay.
Yeah, was in the portal. I mean, we talked about him for CU quite a bit,
thought so.
but he ended up going to FSU.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's always wide receivers to watch.
I saw a draft ranking recently that had Georgia's Lad McConkey ranked higher than Torrey Horton, and I just would like to throw
Wait.
some beef at that.
Lad can ball, though.
He's a stud
He can ball.
in that system.
Wow.
He's not Torrey Horton. He's not Torrey Horton.
Lad can ball.
Lad McConkey. Is he a prospect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He moved. I mean, he's one of those that you'll stereotype him.
Exactly.
It's,
That's the issue. He's a white wide receiver, and people automatically see him and think, oh, he plays tight end. No, he is out there balling on the outside.
What's his size?
He's not small.
No, he's,
I can't even
He's got a nice
spell
frame.
lad, boys. So you're going to have to spell me on this one.
According to Georgia Bulldogs roster,
6'3",
2023.
235.
There you go.
Oh, no. He's big.
Yeah.
Wow. He's huge.
Was I right?
He's huge.
Oh, I thought you had it.
No, I was just that was.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for this website to load. It says 6 foot. I don't have the weight though.
He's bigger than 6 foot.
Man. Anyone else you've particularly thought, boy, would he be nice on the Broncos?
I think we need speed more than anything. So
This guy knows ball.
I look at guys like Mario Williams at USC is very explosive as well.
That's where a guy like Worthy of Texas, we already brought him up.
Right.
Yeah, Texas, man. So much talent.
It's now or never. I mean, they got Isaiah Nair, who transferred in from Wyoming a couple years back, tore his ACL last year. He's a stud, and he's going to be like their wide receiver 4 or 5.
For sure. Lad McConkey, here we go. 6 foot 185 is what he's listed at.
I would have guessed at least 6'1", 6'3".
He doesn't look small on,
No,
on
he
the
doesn't.
field.
3.
I overshot for sure.
Are we moving on?
Yeah.
Shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time takes out all the stress of buying tickets to your favorite sports, music, comedy, and theater events. They've got killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee.
They
So
do.
you can stop stressing over getting your tickets to any event. you may want to see.
Broncos, Buffs, and Rams games.
Exactly. We're both on the road this weekend, so I don't really have a game time game of the week.
I'm at home.
Are you at home?
We're in
okay.
Fort Collins.
There you go. There's your game time game of the week. You can get WSU, CSU tickets.
You did it, baby.
And snag the tickets without the stress using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code DMVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DMVR. You'll get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Yes.
Also, if you're at the game, particularly for one of these early starts, you're going to need some Shady Rays to keep the sun out of your eyes. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company, but guess what, guys? They make a product that's just as good, if not better, than all the expensive ones.
Yeah.
And you can wear them with confidence because if you lose them, if you break them, they're going to replace your pair, no questions asked. Nobody hooks it up like the homies over at Shady Rays.
They're the best.
Together with their customers, Shady Rays providing much-needed support to nonprofit partners across the U.S. through Shady Rays Impact. We love that. You want to check it out in person, go to the Park Meadows Mall, full-stop shop for all things Shady Rays. If you don't love them, return or exchange for free within 30 days. Again, no risk. Their team always has your back. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays giving out the best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the code DNVR for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
Well done, sir. Well done. Before we move to Buffs and Rams, I thought running back teams for the All-American were the most interesting. Who would you?
Let's hear 'em.
We went classic. We picked 2 backs to start.
Okay.
Because, that's how we play football in
Traditional.
2023. Wrong. That's not how we play football in 2023.
I'm just mad I can't nominate a fullback, to be honest.
Damn straight. Where's my H-back?
Hey, shout out to Alec Ingold for breaking the bank today. Did you see that shit?
Yeah.
It's amazing. I went Raheem Sanders, Braylon Allen.
I went Blake Corum and Braylon Allen.
Okay, then I'll keep it with the same 3,
All
but
Big
different
Ten.
combination. I'll go Blake Corum, Raheem Sanders.
Oh,
Raheem the Dream. I like. Is
Dude,
Corum supposed to be
Raheem
ready
the
week 1?
Dream's the
Yeah,
shit.
Corum's ready. The thing with Corum, though, is
The
he's
split with Donovan Edwards.
well. That's the
concerned?
thing. Donovan came on so strong last year that it's not just going to be the Corum show like it was all year last year. I think we're going to see both of them on the field at the same time.
Well, and JJ might snipe some of those red zone rushing touchdowns
course.
as well.
Sure. So
That's a great point.
But this
That's a
is
great
one of the
point.
best offensive lines in football, man. They're going to be dominant on that side.
Yeah.
Throw
Yeah.
out a wild card just to keep an eye on.
For Michigan?
Just another running back that, we gave 3 really brand names.
We really did. Zach Zinter, the right guard for Michigan. Keep an eye on
Yes,
him.
yes.
My goodness, what a mauler.
Looking through these names, I really thought Audric Estime was impressive last year for Notre Dame. And then in week 0, he had a great game as well.
He's popping up on some lists now.
The
Yeah.
Ole Miss sophomore is getting all kinds of
Oh,
love.
yes.
APL,
Yes.
I'm drawing
Yes.
a blank on his name. But
Trey Benson out of Florida State's a guy we've talked about a little bit before, and that matchup against LSU is it Monday night?
yeah, Monday.
It's going to be huge for him.
5:30.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot wait.
That's the NFL matchup of this week.
Yep.
No doubt. I can't wait to get into that in the next segment. But yeah, let's talk some local prospects because it does feel like college football locally, we've really got a bit more talent to look after than maybe usual. And also some new faces. Like
Yeah, for
not
sure.
necessarily, like when Trey or Visca were coming up, it felt very much like
It's a
yeah,
3-year
like,
rise,
right,
you know?
I know it's coming. Here, it's much more like, man, what, even Torrey Horton, guy who played very well last season as the receiver for the Rams, but
you're not going to be paying attention to
Such a
CSU
poor
on a
team,
national
right.
level last year.
Right.
I mean, he was their entire offense. The fact that he was able to put up, 70 plus catches, nearly double-digit touchdowns, close to 1,200 yards receiving while being double teamed literally every rep of the season is pretty dang impressive. And I think he's going to be one of those guys that actually has a better season just because it's going to take some of that pressure off of him. You're going to have a much more complete passing offense. They could not attack the middle of the field at all. They just gave up trying the last couple of weeks. We don't have a tight end that can do it. We're over it.
Right.
No offense to Tanner Arkin, Fort Collins kid. He's moved on to University of Illinois. Wish him well. But Dallin Holker comes over from BYU. He's an NFL tight end prospect. A little bit older, went on a mission. But, he's a guy that was in position to be a team captain for them. He was a pretty significant loss for that BYU program. And they were not stoked when he ended up at CSU, former conference foe. I'll say that. But those are a couple guys you want to keep an eye on offensively. Defensively, Mohamed Kamara.
Yeah,
mix
he's a
the
dog.
two names together. Absolute stud. I mean, he had a sack against Michigan week 1. You could find it on Twitter where he just torches the tackle, and that's saying something.
This
wasn't
Joe Moore Award winning offensive line.
Yeah. And this was like the, second quarter. This wasn't fourth quarter,
Right.
Where the game's out of hand. Like, this was legitimate. Jack Howell's a guy who's in that All-American type conversation coming off of a 100-plus tackle season. Little bit undersized as far as NFL evaluation goes, but I certainly wouldn't cut him short because he's just so versatile. I mean, a guy that can play up top, that can come down around the line of scrimmage and make those types of tackles consistently. That's my kind of guy. I love a tackling DB. We all grew up on Champ Bailey. I'm not calling him Champ Bailey.
No, sure.
But I love a corner. I love a safety that's willing to get in the mix. And the Rams got a couple of those. Chigozie Anuzium at corner. Great frame, 6'2", I don't want to guess on the weight because I've been way off today all day. But he's got an NFL frame. CSU in general, that secondary, a lot of talent. Aiden Hector, Henry Blackburn, Howell, Chigozie. Really excited to see some of these guys. And from a draft evaluation prospect, I think fans are going to have fun watching this CSU team because they've got some great athletes. This is not the Rams football of the last couple of years, which, guys, is ugly. Like, so ugly when I'm walking to my car and just being like, God, like, I can't do another week of this. I really can't. There's a lot of reason to believe these guys are legit, and this high-end talent's a big reason why.
Shout out to my guy, Benny Lava in the chat. Yeah, Mo Kamara, just based off last year's production, one of the best pass rushers coming in the country, coming into the season. Jack Howell, as you mentioned, maybe a little undersized, but maybe that plays better as a nickel defender. And
he has some versatility to his game that's going to help him. He's pretty solid in coverage, and that's something I think he's going to work on this year and next year to help his NFL stock. It's interesting. I mean, Horton, another guy, could declare after this year, could technically come back. He's only 20 years old. This is his 4th year of college football. It's a guy that came in at 17 years old.
That's saying a lot. And then Torrey Horton's the big dog.
Yeah, he's my guy.
The one to watch. Jake,
I will start off. Of course,
you going draft eligible on us?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'll of course start off with Shador. I don't think he declares after this year. I think he wants to stay at Colorado and play under Coach Prime. But who knows?
You have a big enough year, you're going to be a 1st-round pick or something.
Exactly. So
it's a great quarterback draft class as well. So even if he does have a huge year, is it so huge?
It's a good point. Do you benefit by coming back?
Drafted ahead of Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, Penix, J.J. McCarthy, and so on and so forth. Bo Nix.
No,
some people
come on.
rate Bo Nix.
Let's be serious here. I'll also throw out Shiloh, man. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining, but he's been in college a while, and I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to prove what he's capable of, finally healthy this year and go on to the NFL.
NFL size for a safety there on Shiloh Sanders?
Yeah, 6 foot, almost 200.
Right,
yeah,
right. That's what
he's he a 5th year?
I think his first year was 2019, 2018-ish, so I think so.
I'm just trying to...
He's a grad.
Funny enough, there is a picture of Deion Sanders and both Sanders boys all wearing Colorado State gear, and from 2018 when they came and visited Bobo.
Oh man, that's gonna surface pretty soon.
I've got it downloaded. It'll come out.
Of course. I'll throw out 2 wide receivers as well. Xavier Weaver from USF.
Yeah.
And then Javon Antonio. He played at Northwestern State last year. Both guys come in as graduate transfers. Javon Antonio is the biggest receiver on the roster, 6'4", 225. So,
Nice.
You talk about size.
Almost Lad McConkey size.
That's right. That's right.
And then Zay is he's got insane body control. He's willing to go up over the top and make these crazy catches. I think he has the potential to be the most productive wide receiver on this team this season. I'll throw out Jordan Dominic as well, another an edge guy, and Taj Alston. I think Derek McClendon as well. Their top 3 edges are all graduate transfers. They've all spent time in college. They're all looking to get to the league. I think that this defensive line is going to be able to cause problems this year.
That's a good spot. I like bringing in an edge who has something to prove, because it's one of those positions you can kind of single-handedly, just out of sheer effort, make an impact. Right. I mean, you don't want to be out of position trying to do too much, but it's just, and I feel like CSU's hit rate on the edge transfer with one last year trying to prove himself, the hit rate's much higher than the offensive tackle who never played a game.
I mean, shoot, it's crazy to look at like last year's SEC sack leaders, because it's Will Anderson, then it's Drew Sanders who plays for the Broncos, and then it's Jordan Dominic. Those are the three guys with double-digit sacks in the SEC last year. So yeah, I mean, you'd expect big things.
Yeah,
and he's long, maybe not the most twitched up, explosive, bendy guy, but he's already. I mean, he's produced consistently at the ACC, SEC level. Now we'll see him in the Pac-12. They'll be relying on him a lot, though. And I mean, that's a position where the NFL, you never have enough.
He's just going to overwhelm some of those matchups. The Cowls and Stanfords of the world. Like, good luck.
Sure.
Good luck.
Right. It's a great point.
Last guy I'll throw out is Kavasi Smoke at running back. A bit of a all name in college football,
he
but
is an all name team. Yep, first team.
And the Buffs fans know about him, and this running back room is pretty deep. But when you look at look at Bijan Robinson last year and Roshan Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Look at where Roshan got drafted. What was it, 4th round?
3rd or 4th. I
think it was 3rd.
Like, if you
I think it was 3rd.
If however many carries he had, 100, 150, whatever it was, if you show something in those carries, and this guy doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires, he's played in college football. I think this is his 5th season, but I think he's under
I like that more.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Kobe Johnson's coming in from North Dakota, same deal. North Dakota State, he's a 2-time national championship winner. He's been productive in the FCS playoffs, 3 different runs, but he has 200 career carries to his name because they had 5 running backs on the roster.
That's the dream. Man.
Exactly.
And they're both downhill runners, right?
Yeah. Yes.
It's so that's how you're going to control the clock some.
Right.
You'll regain some control as a play caller. That's huge.
Clock's going to keep running this year. It's huge. It doesn't seem like it's made a huge difference.
No, huge.
Because they're going to get those. They're going to get those commercials in, but it is less plays.
I saw a stat that there was actually 4 less plays on average week 0 compared to last year's average, but 12 more minutes of commercials. How about that?
The amount of terrible, if we can fix anything in college football, it's the TV timeout. Awful. It doesn't. When you're at home and you're watching all the games, it's fine. But when you are at a game in person and you see how much they stand around,
it's brutal.
It is brutal.
Yep.
Yeah, they really have to figure this out. We need an actual governing body in college football that gives a shit
I'll do
about
it.
College football. Yeah, no. The draft pod is available for hire if you want it.
We'll save college football. That's all I'm saying.
We literally would.
We probably would.
We would just save college football. It's in our best interest.
You know what else is in your best interest?
Giving this stream a thumbs up.
Yes.
Giving this stream a thumbs up.
Smash that thumbs up.
Stream a thumbs Also, though, I need a Breckenridge brewery.
Ooh,
I need a beer because
about.
I'm getting tongue-tied. I'm overestimating weights by about 50 pounds in height.
Yep, you see it.
But right now, the beer of the month, Mountain Beach Sour, Jake and I, we are on brand.
Last day.
At some point, we're going to have to Stone Cold Steve Austin them. I don't know where or when, but it's going to happen.
What are the odds for the 3rd month this summer we get Mountain Beach Sour as the beer of the month for September?
I got some inside
Just make
people
it happen again.
at Breck.
Just do it again.
I'll put in the word. Sticks with Mountain Beach.
Run it back. Run it back.
We love Breck. You'll love Breck. And it's because they have a passion for making great beer. They've been doing it for 33 years. They're an awesome local institution. The farmhouse is sick. They do great things for the community. They do great things for their people. And you are going to enjoy it if you go over there. I'm telling you, one of the best spots in Littleton for sure.
Food is amazing.
It's so good. Yeah. In fact, I might have a Court bring me a burger home tonight. Check out the beer locator, breckbrew.com. Find a brew near you.
Do it. And that's just an appetizer as far as, CSU, CU prospects, who the Broncos should target. This is just our season preview. Every single week, we'll be here to update you, tell you, man, I don't know, that guy really stood out to me. He looks like a pro prospect.
Or sometimes we're out on a guy.
Talk it out. That's right. Bo Nix.
Bo Nix.
You can still change our mind. It's not too late, Bo. You've got it in
it's
you.
Over
I know
for me.
You do.
It's over.
Our favorite part of the show, it's talking about the games that are coming up that we'll then break down on the next show. talk about all the ins and outs, prospects, schemes, what have you. I've missed this so much.
We're so fucking back, man.
Oh, let's go, baby.
Go.
And it's Florida, Utah I want to start with. That game is tonight.
Yeah.
Cam Rising not playing.
Nope.
It's in Utah. And Brent Kuthi, the tight end we've been on for how many years?
What, 3 now?
Yeah, watch guys in the trenches always with Utah, defensive, offensive, and then their running back. I mean, he's a real guy.
That's the thing about this Utah team. Yes, missing that veteran presence in Cam Rising is big, but your number 2 has legit experience, including against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl a year ago, in which he played pretty dang well. They have the best O-line in the conference. They have one of, if not the top defensive line in the Pac-12 as well. At altitude against a Florida team who still has a lot of pieces trying to come together. Frankly, I do think Florida might be a little better than they were last year. Oh, I don't know.
Minus Anthony Richardson, though.
I think that might actually help them, though, just in terms, like his he was so erratic.
We're not doing this Graham Mertz thing again.
It is Graham Mertz, isn't it?
Yeah.
Graham Mertz.
I'm not doing this again.
He sucks.
Guys,
he's terrible.
There were Mountain West schools, multiple of them, that legitimately believed they were going to land Graham Mertz, and now he's a starting quarterback at Florida.
It's insane. It's insane how poorly they have fallen. I don't think Napier's the answer.
No, he's a year from getting run out of town.
Yeah. Jason Marceau Jr., the Gators' best prospect. He's a corner you want to keep an eye on, especially Broncos fans, since that might be a need. 6'1", 203 Miami kid. 8 pass deflections, 1 interception. It's a 5-point spread. Some places I've seen it shift to 4.5.
Yep.
No Cam Rising. I think I'm still taking the Utes.
I agree.
I like the Utes to cover at home. I actually think this is one of those games where people will talk themselves into Florida and Utah wins comfortably.
It's right. Because if you look at just the name value, you're like, well, wait, the Gators got more talent. And also that game last year sticks in your head, man.
Utah should have won in the swamp.
Yes, they should have won that game.
But they didn't.
They didn't.
And I know I lost money on that.
I did too.
Yeah. I lost a decent penny.
I thought I remembered something like that. But I do think the consensus across the board, we're sticking with the Utes on this one.
Yep.
This is a very pro-Utah pod.
It's just a narrative game. The narratives here, like look at what these programs have done the last 20 years. It's Utah all the way.
And it's people are going to get too swept up in brand name, and it's the Gators in Florida. And yes, but like quietly, Utah's been the most consistent Pac-12 team for a decade now.
Right. Talk to me about Stanford at Hawaii on the island, J. Mike. I don't know that there's a ton of prospects in this one.
Prospect-wise, this isn't. I mean, Stanford's in full rebuild mode. There's a couple guys you could look. Hawaii, Cam Stone at corner is pretty solid. Came over from Wyoming, but this is a brutal spot for Troy Taylor, frankly, in his debut. We talked about it on DNVR Rams Live today, just being in a state of transition. Obviously, Troy Taylor's offense is significantly different than what we've seen under Brian Shaw.
yeah.
They can't hit the portal to fill in the gaps the way other teams can.
That's a hell of a transition, man.
That's a 2-year transition.
Yeah.
They don't have a quarterback either. McKee went on to the NFL. I don't know who's starting at quarterback for them, but it's going to be a drop off because
he was in the program last. I had it in the notes, but
even though Stanford was bad, on the Buffs pod all last season, I was saying, look, man, this McKee kid can make some plays. And you could tell when they had those scripted drives coming out of the half.
We liked him from an NFL standpoint.
Yeah, he was making things happen. It's just, once you get outside of that script and you got to try and actually take advantage of the other team's weaknesses, Stanford didn't have the players to really do that.
No matchups to exploit.
Exactly.
Hawaii's offense, the run and shoot under Timmy Chang. I mean, they got it going, threw for 300 plus last week. Braden Traeger looked really good. Did have a pick late that cost them. They got to run the ball better. But Dre and I both took Hawaii to win this outright. Not only cover, but to upset Stanford. It just feels like a house of horrors late night, Friday night for Troy Taylor. And I respect the hell out of him. He was a guy who I got doing the sidelines for CSU Sac State last year. I got to spend some time with him. And I was like, man, I hope CU doesn't hire this guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, it worked out for you guys, but I think he's a brilliant football coach.
He was at the top of our list, like up there with Coach Prime, with Garrett Riley in terms of guys that we wanted.
He's doing some interesting stuff. I'll say this. I think we're overreacting a little bit to Hawaii looking semi-competitive against Vanderbilt, who might just be garbage and still beat them by double digits.
It was
a 7-point game.
7 points.
They scored at the end, I
That's
think.
right.
Yeah,
That's
it
right.
should have been double digits.
yeah.
This also, though, feels like on the island, they're just 3-point dogs. Like the book knows something.
Mm-hmm.
And when the book knows, you go with the book, even though it almost looks... Part of me does feel like Stanford's almost too easy.
Yeah. I don't. Maybe this is a little cheesy.
So it's a bit.
but
It's a counterintuitive. Give me Hawaii. Give me Hawaii +3.
They lost their best offensive lineman. He plays at Michigan now. Like, they lost all their players. Look at the
Stanford.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at the in and out of the transfer portal from them. It's like 30 some out, like only 6 in.
It's just a really brutal spot. I mean, there were obviously a lot of comments about that one guy that said CU might have the worst roster in the FBS or whatever. Stanford
Jesus.
might have the worst roster
Yeah.
in the FBS. And it's just a brutal spot. I think that
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, 5 years ago, that was a program that's contending on an annual basis. Hawaii, though, are we in consensus on that one?
Yeah, give me Hawaii.
Okay, well, I hate that.
I don't
It's a
yet.
double consensus. But that's fine, I suppose. Ready to lose money week 1. It's what we do. It's a tradition as old as time.
That's true.
No team is better against the spread at home than Hawaii the last 3 years.
All right, what a stat.
What a stat. Good job, Justin. CU
Especially as
SDU. We've talked about some of the matchups. From a pro standpoint, Josh Newton, the pro prospects for the Buffs. Buffs 20.5-point dogs.
Outrageous.
I mean, based off how these teams were last year, it checks out.
Sure.
Based off how much turnover has occurred on both these rosters.
I don't know how they set these lines with so much uncertainty.
Yeah, how is this a 20-point line when we literally know hardly anything about these teams after they lost so much? Brought so much in.
It's when you don't have data to go off of, I feel like it's mostly driven by perception.
And that's clearly the perception out there in the general like college football, community is that TCU is a great program now. They're going to roll Colorado.
Right. Year one, Sunny
I'm
Dags
surprised it hasn't come down at all. I will say that.
It's been rock solid.
Shocking.
Like CSU's gone down from I think they were opened at 15-point dogs.
Yeah.
It's now 11.
Yeah.
I figured this one would be somewhere around that. I know it's in TCU, so you're not going to get the home field like the Rams are, but I figured this would close somewhere around
It's slightly shocking.
15 and a half, 16.
Yes.
Look, man, last year Chandler Morris started this game. He's going to start again this year
What was the score when Chandler Morris was?
When he exited the game, I think it was 13-6. He was 13 of 20. Threw for
CU
150
almost ended
yards.
their title run before it began.
Literally.
Crazy.
Of course, he gets injured in that game. Duggan comes in, and then they just run the ball down CU's throat that whole game, and it ends up 38-13, I think the final score was. Look, guys, CU has an advantage at quarterback in this game. Flat out.
I think so.
Full stop. It's not even debatable. They've got the better quarterback. They are much faster than they were last year. I think they're going to be able to be explosive and create some big plays. And defensively, I just like the talent more. I think you actually have guys who can get into the backfield on defensive line. You have linebackers that can go sideline to sideline. And you have some of the most talented corners in the country. Give me CU plus 20.5.
They doing anything this week to prepare for the heat?
I mean, it's been hot out here anyways. They did play one day in practice one day in the IPF, and it can get people always. It's funny you talk about the IPF. It's like, oh, you're indoors. It's easier. It's pretty humid in there when you have 100
It gets kind of
plus-
like a sauna.
Yeah, kind of stuffy when you have 100+ dudes running around. You have coaches running around, equipment people. There's a lot of people in there. So they've done that. But look, man, a lot of these people, Coach Prime, Shador, Shiloh, they're from Texas. They brought in transfers from Florida, from Georgia, from Texas, all over the South. I think they'll be fine.
I guess the only thing I would say, if you were looking for a reason to think TCU could cover this spread potentially in this type of heat, you worry about depth.
Sure.
And, cramping, and especially when you're really reliant on a couple of top end guys. And CSU was in that position last year.
But how important is depth in week one?
If it depends.
I mean, if it's
depends
really
on
hot.
what depends on how good your twos are.
It's going to be hot for TCU too.
Yeah. And
Totally.
I also
Totally.
think TCU's lost so many people. Maybe the depth isn't.
And they
that's
won
such
a lot of
mismatch.
fluky games.
Dude, they play close games. That's just what TCU does.
It's a great point.
Where are you at? You like the bus to cover?
I do. I feel like it's a pretty rare opportunity where you get this big a spread, and it's a quarterback I feel pretty good about in Shedeur.
I think CU covers. I'm with you guys just on the QB. Give me, and when it comes to this, I'll bet on the better quarterback to cover a close to 4-score spread.
You got to. Boise State at Washington. Washington's a really fun team to watch, led by Michael Penix, Romeo Odunze, their star wide receiver, someone that we've already brought up.
Chris Peterson Bowl.
Chris Peterson Bowl, indeed. And they also have some great pass rushers, the Huskies do, and Breland Trice and ZTF, Zion Tuapalua Fetui.
Well done.
I'm not going to do that again because I butchered it. We talked about this one already, J-Mike.
We did.
I'm laying the points. I love the Huskies.
I'm really high on this
I think they'll
Washington
explode
team.
on them, rush the passer, they'll get it.
We talked about them last week as a team to keep an eye on for some playoff noise. One, because the schedule plays out kind of favorably compared to some of those other top end teams in the Pac-12. But when you return as much talent as they do at QB, at receiver, in the trenches, corner,
it's a huge advantage.
they're just a really good team. And Boise, I voted for them to win the Mountain West. I think they're going to be really good. Taylon Green, their sophomore quarterback's a stud.
Fun. He's very
great
fun.
athlete, 6'4", runs the ball. But it's just a tough spot going into this atmosphere week one. And, I do think Boise will hang. I think it'll be a pretty good game. But I think Washington's disparity in talent proves to be too much. They pull away in the fourth quarter.
I agree. I think Boise State's going to be a fun team this year. I loved watching Talon Green. I remember I texted you last year, I think during week one, and I was like, who the hell is this Green kid at quarterback? Because he was sprinting down, galloping down the sideline.
Night and day. I mean, they kept trying to make it work with Bachmeier, and they put in Green, and he just took off. Completely flipped. I mean, the final straw, obviously, was Boise went into UTEP, and they lost.
Right.
And then they fired their OC. Bachmeier quits the team not much longer after that. Right. But
Washington's just deeper, I think, more talented. I think Boise State can make an impact, but I think just late in the game, Michael Penix he's too good.
Turnovers are where it gets interesting. Boise should be able to run the hell out of the football.
You nervous or what?
I might just parlay every consensus pick we're going against just to be safe. Because when there's a consensus like this, it never is a good sign.
Look,
never is a good sign.
Washington was very, very explosive last year.
Hey, I love it. And actually, I think maybe the safer and better bet on Washington is over 36.5.
Oh, team total?
Yeah. I just think it's a high-scoring game, and I think the Huskies get behind it.
Well, I mean, a lot of these spreads, we're not necessarily like we love them, but we're just giving our opinions on where we'd be.
Totally.
Washington's one of the few teams I actually bet the over on the win total.
Hawaii's one of the teams I bet the over.
I like Washington. Speaking of Washington State, Colorado State, Rams, 11-point dogs.
It's moved in favor of CSU. Like I said, it was closer to 2 touchdowns. A lot of sharps are high on CSU being much better this year. I think a lot of that has to do with the respect they have for Jay Norvell and just the fact that it's, a whole roster again. They were competing with scholarship totals in the low 50s for 9 weeks of the last season. They had true freshmen on the field that frankly had no business being on the field, but they didn't have anybody else to put out there. So it's just night and day. You get all your top end talent back. It's a completely different matchup than when they went into Pullman a year ago. Washington State loses 4 of its 6 leading tacklers. Their 3 leading receivers. Can Cam Ward elevate that team? We'll see. He made some plays early on in the year. He kind of forced it quite a bit down the stretch and cost them in some big games as well.
Yeah, he lost me some money later in the year.
Me too.
And it's a new offensive coordinator, and it's Cam Ward who maybe got figured out in the second half. Mm-hmm. What I really like is CSU over 21.5 because I believe that offense is going to figure some things out and look completely different. I do like the Rams plus 11 here.
I mean, I like Cam Ward. He's fun. He's great. He's great to watch.
He is.
But I don't think Washington State had the weapons last year, and they really struggled to be explosive.
And
they
their
brought
beat
in,
guys said they downgraded at receiver.
Well, they transferred a lot of guys in at wide receiver, so we'll see. I do like Nakia Watson at running back, but their strength is the quarterback. They don't really have the weapons. They're going to win this game defensively or cover this game defensively if they do. That defensive line is going to be legit.
Yeah.
That being said, I mean, Colorado State is just, they're going to be able to put up points, and I just believe in that, so I think they cover.
I love it. UTSA, they are favored on the road against Dana Holgorsen and the Houston Cougars, the Big 12's own Houston Cougars.
Nope.
Plus 1.5 dogs in H-Town.
Is this a neutral site game? It might be.
I'm pulling it up right now, and I can tell you exactly which stadium this is in. It says...
You're our G5 guy, even though this is a Big 12 team.
It's at Houston.
It's at Houston. Give it to us.
Frank Harris, UTSA's quarterback, is a stud.
UTSA, dude, they're for real.
Because of this guy.
Yeah, Frank Harris is a stud. They were my preseason pick to go to the New Year's Six Bowl for the G5 schools.
They were. I remember this now.
Defensively, they're pretty solid. They're really well coached. I just hate this spot. As I really like UTSA, and I think I'm going to go with the home dogs in Houston week 1. And I really like Harris. So if he lights it up and they win, I'm going to be super pissed.
On the eye test, this jumped out. You guys corrected me. And it's just a clear, like, the book knows what I don't know. So I'm going to trust the book. Give me UTSA minus 1.5.
I think it's the safer play. I'm betting on college home atmospheres. I do think this game for Houston is going to be a big deal because, you know, they've kind of been... They had their nice little run there with Herman or whatever, and now they've kind of come back to reality. I think losing to UTSA at home would be a very bad look for that program.
Home dogs forever, man. They are a way of life. The best pro prospect quarterback matchup we have on the weekend, fair to say, even more so than LSU Florida State, is South Carolina Spencer Rattler taking on Drake Maye. UNC 2.5-point favorites at home. Is this as simple as take the top quarterback?
I don't think so.
South Carolina was good
They're
down
frisky.
the stretch.
They've lost some talent in the secondary and defensively just the last 2 years.
This game's in North Carolina.
This one's a toss-up.
I think it's in South Carolina.
Gamecocks, huh?
Oh, why does this say? It does say North Carolina. It has South Carolina on the home team here. Sorry.
Oh, that does.
2.5-point favorites. Drake Maye, UNC.
Yeah, I mean, I just like that quarterback matchup. I know the Gamecocks really came on strong last year.
Give me South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Gamecocks, man. I think that the SEC size and speed can take over. And look, NC has Drake Maye, and they had a great run the last few years. It's so hard to be that team in and out. Like, they would have to be basically dethroning Clemson to be that team in the ACC. I don't think they're there. I'm really thrown off that this is in North Carolina, but I like South Carolina.
It might be a neutral site game too.
It is at the Panthers Stadium, so I don't think
that's in North Carolina.
Well, the Tar Heels have their own,
it's in Charlotte.
Yeah, the Tar Heels play. They have their own stadium.
It is
a neutral site. Yep.
Yep. Give me South Carolina.
I'm a rock with the Gamecocks as well. I liked what I saw down the stretch from them. And I know sometimes we buy into that too much. Like, they were good in November last year, so this completely different team is also going to be good in September the next year. But I just like the momentum they had rolling. And I don't know. Who's Drake Maye throwing the ball to?
I mean, that's the thing. I don't have names right now.
They always have some.
They do. But
my thing is, like, are they actually that good, or is it just like the uniform? There's an element with their uniform where it just like makes them feel better than they are because it looks so good up there.
My guy Sam Howell going to be starting next weekend too.
Taking UNC.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Let's go, Dre.
No,
I'm going to say I'm a little surprised. You've been a UNC guy pretty through and through the last couple of years.
I mean,
Mac Brown's turned that program around. He's brought some talent in, man.
It's a top 25 team year in and year out again.
I just don't think they're top tier program though. I think they're entirely capable of losing this game outright.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to know why this one?
As in South Carolina, right?
So
I think they're pretty evenly matched in a neutral stadium. So
give me the points.
I just trust Maye more than I do Rattler.
Fair, but Rattler can go off too. I'll just take the points.
He can.
I'll take the points.
This isn't like
Very Zach
actual
Wilson.
analysis, but it does feel like the dumb college football move where Spencer Rattler in his, 4th or 5th year
Could be.
beats the, guy that everybody's drooling over.
Could be, man. I don't think you're wrong on that. Let's get into the Monday night game.
Yeah,
If
let's
we've got
go.
time, I'll get to Beavers
We're
against
good.
San Jose State. LSU at Florida State.
Game of the week.
Yeah, game of the week, talent across the board. You mentioned Malik Neighbors. We've mentioned Harold Perkins, the star edge rusher for LSU, who's just a sophomore. They have Mason Smith at LSU, defensive tackle. Superstar freshman, was injured last year. He comes back. Jared Verse, maybe the best edge rusher in the country. A guy who, if it wasn't for the NIL, would be in the NFL
He's in the pros, yeah.
today and would have been a first rounder. Instead, Florida State, they keep him in Tallahassee. We talked about some of the Seminoles wide receivers. It's year 2 of Brian Kelly. It's year what of
Norvell.
Of Norvell. Like
Four?
3 or 4.
3 or
I
4,
think.
yeah.
It's a big one for both these programs who could really be set up to make some noise if they come out of this victorious. It's 2.5, and this isn't Tallahassee. This is a real home game.
This is
right?
in Orlando.
I thought so. So it's a neutral site game on
Sort
top
of.
of that. And some people like the quarterback for FSU too. So
Yep.
who wants to start?
I'm really high on LSU going into this year. I think Daniels in year 2 with Brian Kelly is going to catch the world by storm. I do think LSU's schedule is going to be really challenging. So trying to survive that gauntlet, how they manage that, is going to be interesting. You got to go to Tuscaloosa, obviously. And I think Bama, after the way that game ended last year, the 2-point conversion, you're chomping at the bit to get revenge. But, outside of Georgia, outside of Bama, I think LSU is the best shot to win the conference. And I think they're really going to come alive. I think that offense is going to light it up this week. And I'm all in on LSU.
I agree, man. I think Brian Kelly is one of the best coaches in the country. I was actually kind of surprised at how well he did last year because I figured he'd do well at this spot in LSU, but I didn't expect it that sudden right away. They were dominant in some games as well. So this game was a mess last year. You remember the end of this game last year?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So
And I like Florida State even. This isn't like me, I'm kind of buying into some of the hype coming in, but
I was on Florida State last year, and I'm nervous that I'm switching sides again to the favorite to take LSU, but I just think they're more talented.
I need to see way more out of Jordan Travis before I'm going to anoint him like a
Yeah,
guy that leads them to the playoff.
I'm not
I
fully in
know,
on him yet.
But have I seen enough to like him more than Jaden Daniels?
That's where I would lean Brian Kelly. I'm just going to give
Yep.
the Brian
It's a
Kelly
great-
offense the bum.
Yep.
Great counterpoint. I do like that he has Trey Benson to hand the ball off to. I hear you guys on the point of the coaches. Brian Kelly definitely should have an edge in this one. I don't think the rosters are that far off.
I don't,
think so either.
Fact, FSU might have the edge on some key positions. I just hate when we agree, and this one I just get the vibe. Jaden Daniels and LSU kind of messes this up, mucks it up early in the year to then make some noise in SEC.
I could see that.
And that would be very South Carolina-y of them.
Oh yeah, started 2-2 in
Yeah.
non-conference play, and then they come down the stretch and beat Bama and make it to the title game.
Yes.
Give me the Noles. I'm so locked in on this game on Monday. man.
Can't wait.
So
I would not be
locked in.
shocked at all if Florida State won. I mean, it's just I got to see more from Travis. Like
Yeah.
I said, that's
Yeah.
where I'm at with that team. I think, like you said, you look at the talent at the skill positions, everything else.
Oh, it's great.
They have some juice under Norvell. Like they've been more competitive the last couple of years, but I mean, LSU is a different animal, and I got a lot of respect for Kelly. And
Damn straight. It's a tough one to open the season with, too, man.
I respect it,
It's
though.
a
Can we?
great game.
I love it because guess what?
Yeah, I do too.
If you lose this game, you have 11 weeks to fix your reputation. You still have a chance at the playoff. You still have a chance at
yes,
winning your conference.
yes.
It does nothing. I love it.
I do, too. I love that college football's back. I love
Let's
that
go.
Buffs and Rams are back. We will help guide you if you don't have a dog in the fight of who you need to tune into, who you need to watch. Ride with us on these picks. We'll be back next week. Thank you so much to producer Alyssa, to my guy, Schwan Man, and J Mike. What up, Cody, in the chat? Leave us a thumbs up. Tell your friends, and we'll see you again next week.